They act almost indifferent when you are close, but the moment you step away, their attention follows you like a shadow. That is the strange thing about hidden attraction. It rarely looks like the clean confession people imagine. It often appears as contradiction. Warmth, then distance. Curiosity, then silence. A person who notices everything about you, then pretends they noticed nothing at all. And this is why secret feelings are so difficult to read. The signs are not always dramatic. They are small disruptions in a person's ordinary self-control. A delayed answer. A sudden change in voice. A joke that sounds casual but arrives too quickly. A kind of attention that has no obvious reason to exist. But there is a danger here. Not every nervous person is in love with you. Not every polite gesture hides desire. Human behavior becomes distorted when we only look for the answer we want. So the question is not, what single sign proves someone is hiding their feelings? The better question is, what pattern begins to appear when attraction, fear, pride, and self-protection all occupy the same person? The first sign is inconsistency that only appears around you. They may be relaxed with everyone else, then strangely controlled when you enter the conversation. Or they may be talkative in a group, but careful and almost formal when speaking to you directly. Sometimes the opposite happens. A quiet person becomes unusually animated around you, laughing a little too quickly, filling silence before it can expose them. On the surface, this looks like moodiness, but attraction often disturbs the persona a person normally wears. Carl Jung used the word persona to describe the social face we present to the world. It is the version of ourselves that knows how to behave, how to sound competent, how to remain acceptable. Hidden feelings can threaten that mask because they introduce a private truth into a public interaction. So the person starts managing themselves. They become either too careful or too expressive, too distant or too available. Their behavior does not simply change. It changes specifically in your presence. That specificity matters. If someone is inconsistent with everyone, you may be seeing temperament, stress, or poor communication. But if the disruption has a center, and that center is you, then something in them is responding before they have decided what to reveal. The second sign is attention disguised as coincidence. They remember small details you barely remember sharing, a place you mentioned once, a preference hidden in a casual sentence, a problem you said you were dealing with weeks ago. They notice when your energy changes, when you go quiet, when you stop posting, when you enter a room with a different expression than usual. But they rarely present this attention directly. They may act as if they simply have a good memory. They may say, "I just happened to notice." They may make their care sound practical, neutral, almost accidental. This is important because attention is one of the first forms of emotional investment. We give mental space to what matters to us. The person who secretly feels something often collects evidence without admitting they are collecting it. They build a private map of you, then hide the map under casual behavior. In relationships and attraction, self-disclosure and attention often increase intimacy because they reduce uncertainty. When someone remembers details about your inner world, they are not only storing information. They are placing themselves closer to your life than a stranger would. Still, attention alone is not proof of romantic feeling. Some people are naturally observant. Some people are kind. Some people remember details because that is how they maintain friendships. The question is whether their attention has emotional charge. Do they seem especially alert to your reactions? Do they remember details that help them feel connected to you? Do they become careful when you notice that they noticed? The third sign is controlled eye contact. Not simply staring, not simply looking away. Controlled eye contact is more complicated than that. They may hold your gaze for a second longer than necessary, then break it abruptly. They may look at you when you are not looking, then look away when you catch them. They may avoid your eyes during an emotional moment, not because they do not care, but because direct recognition feels too revealing. Eye contact can reduce uncertainty and create intimacy, especially in early attraction. But for someone hiding feelings, it also creates risk. The eyes can betray what the mouth is still denying. So their gaze becomes managed. It comes forward, then retreats. It tests the room. It measures whether you have seen too much. This is where many people misread the sign. Avoidance does not always mean lack of interest. Sometimes it means discomfort, shyness, cultural habit, anxiety, or respect for boundaries. But when avoidance is mixed with repeated checking, when the person looks away and then returns, when their attention seems pulled toward you despite their attempt to appear detached, the pattern becomes more revealing. They are not simply looking. They are negotiating with themselves about being seen. The fourth sign is they create reasons to be near you, but leave themselves an escape route. They ask unnecessary questions. They offer help that could easily have been given by someone else. They appear in conversations where you are present. They send something that reminded them of you but frame it as harmless. They choose proximity, then protect themselves with deniability. This is one of the most common structures of hidden attraction. Approach without confession. The person wants access but not exposure. They want the emotional reward of contact without the vulnerability of saying, "I came here because of you." So they let the situation explain what desire is actually doing. Maybe they needed advice. Maybe they were just passing by. Maybe the message was just funny. Maybe they help everyone. And sometimes that is true. Context matters. But if the reasons keep appearing, if the explanations become thinner, if they seem relieved when the interaction continues and slightly wounded when it ends, then the practical excuse may be serving an emotional purpose. This is not manipulation by itself. It is often self-protection. People hide feelings not only because they are strategic, but because rejection can threaten their pride, their friendship, their status, or the image they have built of themselves. The fifth sign is emotional mirroring. When your mood changes, theirs subtly changes with it. If you become quiet, they become careful. If you laugh, they relax. If you withdraw, they may suddenly become more present, more helpful, or more restless. They seem affected by your emotional weather even when they try not to show it. Attraction often increases sensitivity. A person who feels something for you begins to read you as if your state contains information about their own safety. Are you pleased with them? Are you distant? Did they say too much? Did they lose your attention? This can make their behavior look oddly reactive. They may not confess anything, but their nervous system keeps answering you. There is a darker side to this as well. Some people monitor your emotions because they want control, not connection. They learn your reactions so they can manage you. That is why the quality of the mirroring matters. Does their sensitivity make you feel respected or watched? Does it create space for you or pressure around you? Hidden feelings become healthier when they still leave your freedom intact. They become dangerous when another person's emotional dependence turns your every reaction into a lever. If this kind of careful observation helps you see the difference between affection and pressure, like this video and subscribe to Solify. The real question is not whether someone notices you, but what they do with what they notice. The sixth sign is jealousy that disguises itself as judgment. They may not say they are jealous. In fact, they may speak as if they are above jealousy entirely. But when someone else gets your attention, their tone changes. They become sarcastic. They minimize the other person. They ask questions that sound neutral but carry tension, or they go quiet as if withdrawing will protect them from revealing too much. Jealousy is not always loud. Sometimes it appears as moral commentary. That person seems fake. You trust people too easily. I just do not think they are good for you. Maybe they are genuinely concerned. Maybe they see something you do not. But when concern appears only around rivals, it deserves closer attention. This is where concealed feeling often meets power. A person who has not admitted their desire may still feel entitled to emotional territory. They have not asked for a place in your life, but they react when someone else seems to occupy it. That reaction can reveal the contradiction inside them. They want the privileges of closeness without the risk of honesty. Machiavelli understood, in a political sense, that power often depends on controlling appearances. In personal life, people do something similar on a smaller scale. They may present themselves as rational, detached, or protective, while another motive moves underneath. But again, precision matters. Jealousy does not prove love. It can come from insecurity, possessiveness, rivalry, loneliness, or wounded ego. The sign becomes meaningful only when jealousy appears alongside care, attention, and reluctance to be emotionally transparent. The seventh sign is they test your reaction to intimacy. They do not confess directly. They send a small signal and watch what happens. A slightly personal joke, a compliment with room to retreat, a question about your type, a comment about being alone, a hypothetical that is not as hypothetical as it sounds. They may mention relationships in general while carefully studying your face. Testing is the language of people who want information before exposure. They are trying to discover whether the emotional door is locked, open, or dangerous. The test usually contains ambiguity. If you respond warmly, they can move closer. If you respond coldly, they can pretend it meant nothing. Ambiguity protects the ego. This is where hidden feelings can become emotionally exhausting. The other person may keep placing you inside situations where you are expected to understand what they refuse to say. They want you to decode them, reassure them, maybe even make the first move, while they preserve deniability. There is innocence in this when it comes from shyness. There is immaturity in it when it becomes a habit. And there can be manipulation in it when someone uses ambiguity to keep you emotionally invested without offering clarity in return. A healthy sign of hidden attraction is not endless mystery, it is gradual courage. The person becomes a little more honest over time. The eighth sign is unusual self-presentation. They become more aware of how they appear around you. They adjust their clothes, their posture, their voice, their humor, their intelligence, their competence. They may mention achievements without making it obvious that they are trying to impress you, or they may suddenly become humble in a way that still draws attention to their depth. This is impression management. People naturally manage how they are perceived in social situations, especially when the audience matters. Attraction intensifies the audience effect. You become someone whose opinion has weight. The interesting part is not that they want to look good. Most people do. The interesting part is the selectivity. They may perform confidence around others but seek approval from you. They may act indifferent in public, then become strangely careful in private. They may show you a version of themselves that is more polished, more wounded, more intelligent, or more morally admirable than usual. Nietzsche was suspicious of the ways people turn motives into noble stories. He noticed how often human beings hide the will to be seen, valued, or powerful beneath moral language. In attraction, this does not mean everyone is deceptive. It means the desire to be chosen can make self-presentation more theatrical than we admit. Someone hiding feelings may not say, "I want you to see me as impressive." Instead, they arrange moments where that conclusion becomes available to you. The ninth sign is withdrawal after closeness. This is often the clearest contradiction. They open up, share something personal, stay longer than planned, laugh with unusual ease, or create a moment that feels unmistakably intimate. Then afterward, they pull back. They answer slowly. They become formal. They act as if nothing happened. They restore distance. This can be confusing because people expect attraction to move steadily forward. But hidden feelings often move in waves. Approach creates pleasure, then fear. Closeness gives the person what they want, then exposes what they are afraid to lose. So they retreat to regain control. This pattern can come from many places. Fear of rejection, loyalty to another relationship, shame, avoidant attachment, confusion, pride, or simply the realization that the moment became more vulnerable than intended. The retreat does not always mean the feeling was false. Sometimes it means the feeling became too visible. But this is also where you must protect your own clarity. A person who repeatedly pulls you close and then disappears may be hiding feelings, but they may also be creating instability. Your task is not to solve their inner conflict by sacrificing your peace. Secret feelings are only meaningful if they eventually become honest enough to respect both people. So when you look at these signs, do not look for one perfect clue. Look for convergence, inconsistency around you, attention disguised as coincidence, managed eye contact, excuses for proximity, emotional mirroring, jealousy disguised as concern, small tests of intimacy, selective self-presentation, withdrawal after closeness. One sign can be noise. Several signs, repeated over time, may reveal a pattern. But the most important sign is not in them. It is in what their behavior does to you. Does it invite calm recognition, or does it make you obsess? Does it create mutual openness, or does it trap you in guessing? Does the person move toward honesty, or do they keep you suspended in ambiguity because ambiguity gives them power? Someone may secretly hide their feelings because they are afraid. That is human. But if they never take responsibility for the confusion they create, their hidden feeling becomes less romantic than it first appears. The deeper truth is that attraction is not proven by nervous glances or careful messages. It is proven by the courage to become clear. At the beginning, the person who seemed indifferent may have been paying attention the whole time. But by the end, the question is not only whether they feel something. The question is whether what they feel is strong enough to become honest.